Welcome to another Founder Wisdom podcast. We have Zane Myers with us today. Zane is an instant authority for expert. You get two interviews with him, and you get 480 video posts monthly across platform. His company is called TrustCasting, and yeah, Zane has done some pretty impressive stuff here. So, helped build a medical device company through a $950 million acquisition, hold three medical device patent. And yeah, trust casting, we're going to talk a bit more about it today, but it's a company that's directly related with what I do nowadays with pod buyers. So Zane, welcome to the pods. Tell us a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Thanks, Charles. So I was kind of retired for a while, but I don't really like retirement. I really enjoy working with people, helping them build their business, and I'm was out of the medical device business completely and kind of got into it transitionally, if that's the right word. I was working primarily with physicians, alternative care providers on and we kind of tripped into trust casting. And so the idea of it is that if you're a doctor in any kind of business or any kind of provider, could be an attorney, you could be an accountant, you could be a CEO of a company, or but you want to build trust with your audience. And it may be that you want to be on the board of another company because you want to build trust with your audience. So I'll take an example of a plastic surgeon, because this is a good one that I did the other day. So I was talking to him, and he does a lot of breast surgeries. And so and so he wants to have a regular presence on social media all the time. So we take them and we'll interview him twice a month. And out of those 2 times a month, it's like 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And then we'll cut that up. And this requires, to do this kind of cuts, it requires you really have to think through the podcast as you're going. So you really have to listen carefully to each word. And so we'll devise specific questions that will be around his topic. Say, for instance, we did have this podcast, and we started talking to him about different procedures, and we came upon talking about breast implants. And then we decided, well, the next time we meet, I said, I want you to bring a bunch of actual implants with you, and we're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about, you've got gummies, you've got saline filled, you've got gel filled, you've got some that are textured, some that are not. And that audience wants to know, they're trying to make a selection. What do I want to do? What kind of solution is best for me? And so I said, I'm going to ask you all kinds of questions about these. So why would a woman want to use this one, and why would she want to use a gel, or why? And those audience is really super interested in that. They're going to binge watch that kind of media because they want to know for them, what is the right breast implant for me? And after they start watching, so they may watch all of those and then go on to the next thing that also has to do with plastic surgery. But after they watch that, then they have an affinity with that physician. They feel like, oh, I know him. Obviously, I'm going to go there. If I can go there, if I'm in Beverly Hills, I want to go to that guy. And because he really knows his stuff. So you get kind of this scenario where somebody watches one video, and they don't just watch one video, they watch one video after another video after another video after another video. And so that's the whole theory behind, or not theory, the fact behind trust casting, that you're building trust, and it doesn't require you to have a script similar to what you do right here. There's no script. They just come on board, and we ask them questions specifically about what is it that you're doing, and what is it. And then we have to do a lot of investigation, finding out what's important to their customers, because we need to crawl inside the mind of their customers, patients. For instance, if you had an attorney who worked with car accidents, you really need to know what are people worried about when they've had a car accident. Are they worried about the insurance taking care of them? They're worried about their medical bills. They're worried about all these different questions, or they have these questions. And so we're going to ask those questions of the attorney, and then we're going to just cut them into little snippets that are really consumable. And there's a number of platforms out there that will cut these up, and automatically using AI, but most of them, they're just not quite there. And I don't know when they'll get there, but for us, we want to leave it. So we may not want a complete answer. A lot of times we don't want part of an answer because we want to build curiosity. Other times we want to give a complete answer. So we're looking for to make each one of these videos into a real hook that I want to find out more. I got to continue watching this guy or this gal. Can you say that? Is it politically correct, guy or gal?
Yes.
It seems okay.
Okay, so you target medical professionals only, right? Like, I mean, the plastic surgeon niche is always the best, like in that space, right? They're just like black sheeps of the medical community. They're good clients. They have money. How do you find these clients initially? Like, do you use cold outreach to get in touch with them? Is it ads? How do you get multiple clients like these to pay you?
So it's not all surgeons too. So, like I say, attorneys are also a really good target. And if you have somebody who wants to, public speakers who really want to become better known, we have some of those public speakers that are want to get known in their niche. So yeah, we do a lot of cold outreach, and as we get going here, we're also starting to get people who will refer other people onto them. So we'll use. I've done quite a bit of cold email, which is a love-hate relationship on cold email. That's always a challenge.
Right. Yeah, definitely a love story on my end. I mean, there's been like winters, right? But no, I mean, cold emails then incredible for me and my clients. Tell me about the pricing. Last time we spoke, you said high ticket. So what if I want like all of these videos, right? Like, what will you charge me for these 2 interviews and all the shorts that you're going to produce for me?
So it depends on what you're going to sign up for. But if you come in, you can sign up for a single month if you want, for about $2,000. We'll come in and sign you up for a single month. We'll set you up on a social media platform that allows you to post, and we'll give you a 6-month window on that, so you can actually post all you want on the social media platform. You can also have a social inbox on that platform, and so that we're going to put you on these 8 platforms, and it's really simple. We'll send you an email with a page on it, and you just click on the buttons and go onto your site. And it's so super simple to sign up the 8 platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, YouTube, TikTok, Google Business Profile. It's really just a matter of a couple clicks. So you get signed up on all those, and you stay on that, and then we'll do an entire month worth of these videos. So 60 videos posted to those 8 platforms for you. And then we'll show you how to use that going forward if you want to train somebody in your office to do it. But if you're an ongoing customer, then for about $3,500 a month or so, depending on what you want to do, then we'll do this on an ongoing basis.
Nice. And you started that business, I believe, 10 months ago. How's it growing so far?
It's took a while to kind of fine tune our offer. So it started out slow, and we're starting to really gain momentum now.
And in terms of 3.5K packages, let's say you have 10 clients right now paying this.
Yeah, we have over 10 clients right now paying.
Nice. And okay, where are you taking this one? Because I mean, you came out of retirement, right? Like it's fun to see these clients get more clients and to develop all that authority boosting content. But where do you want to take the company?
I don't necessarily want it to be big like the last group that I don't need a $950 million company to sell. So, but it is fun building a business. And so, where do we go from here? I don't know. We'll see over the next year, because we're starting to accelerate growth, and so I actually have had to put the brakes on a little bit because we had more people coming in than we could handle. But I just have to upscale my staffing and the software on the back end. So where do I see us in a year? Maybe like 300-400 clients, and then beyond that, I don't know. I don't know if I want to grow bigger than that.
Right. And the process that you have these clients go through before they show up on the podcast, what does it look like? You mentioned sort of low preparation, but how do you prepare them and have them truly shine, right? Because as you know, not everyone is comfortable behind a microphone or a camera. It's something that you sort of need to learn. How do you prepare them enough so that they deliver well, but not too much so that they're like super stressed and they don't look natural?
I think that the first interview is almost like, I wouldn't call it a throwaway, but it's never as good as a second or a third interview, just because people tend to get kind of stressed out, and I think because we ask it in a series of questions, it does tend to make people relax. And I'll interrupt them too and say, okay, so I'm asking this question. I'm not going to be in the podcast with you, so you need to repeat the question, and in a conversational way, and say, for instance, if we're talking, continue to use this plastic surgeon. For instance, if we're talking about this breast, you say, well, this particular breast is called a gummy, and then start to explain why this would be superior to something else, as opposed to just saying, well, that means, you have to kind of fill in the back end. But I think when you really start to get into a conversation, especially back and forth, then people tend to relax more. But the first one is always a little bit not quite as good as the follow-ups.
And what are some of your tips sometimes to calm their nerves down? I think that's probably 80% of the equation. People that I tend to have on my podcast are very smart. It's just that they get too anxious, right? And sometimes they just start on the wrong foot, and starting on the right foot is quite important.
Yeah, I think I feel like I said, I just say, just relax. We're going to have fun. We're going to just have a simple conversation. I'm going to ask you questions. Just answer them as to the best of your ability. Don't worry about it. There's no gotchas. I'm never going to say a gotcha here. There's no gotcha questions. It's just going to be you and me having a really nice conversation, just like I'm sitting in your living room and we're talking over cocktails or something. So just relax. We're going to have fun.
Imagine they pay for your service, and you give them gotcha questions. That would be pretty terrible.
That would be pretty terrible.
It's like you paid to get this live on the stream.
But I think some people get nervous about that. They're thinking in the back of their mind, I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Yeah. I think humans get a lot in their own ways. One of my favorite ways is like cracking jokes before we start. Actually, I'm not doing enough of it, but yeah, and sometimes like chit-chatting, right? Like not talking about important stuff, but just getting the wheels warmed up. And I think generally speaking, just being calm. I think sometimes they can get scared also if you have like a super fancy setup, right? And a super fancy microphone. I think that some of them might have these demons popped up, like, oh, my background doesn't look good. My microphone doesn't sound as well. I think like being accessible and relatable generally is the best way to have them at ease.
I haven't really done many podcasts where I'm the guest. I've done, I don't know how many podcasts where I'm the host, but not many where I'm the guest. And it is a different kind of tension. I guess because I've done so many where I'm the host, it's like, okay, I got all my questions lined up and I'm going to just ask you questions but not so much where I'm the host. Is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, the guest.
Even the preparation, I mean, once you reach expert level, let's say that you did at least 100 podcasts, you don't need necessarily to prepare questions, especially if it's your field of expertise, right? If it's a guest that is in a very technical business, yeah, you might need to do a bit more preparation. But I think nowadays it's like being in the moment and having a conversation quite literal. And I think a bunch of podcasters, they forget that, they have their 10 questions ranked up and they look at these questions. I had a guy read the questions to me on a podcast once, and I was like, dude, an AI would have done a better job than you. And I think it's about being human, and not like overcomplicating things. And yeah, really being in the moment and listening keenly to what they have to say, and then selecting the follow-up question that makes the most logical sense to not lose the flow of the conversation.
So I do. You're absolutely right. I do print out. I make a list of at least 10 questions, usually up to 30 questions, and I'll show them to the person. I said, "Look, so I have this list of 30 questions, and I said, I may not ask any of them. I think I'll start out with the first one. And I said, but really, what's going to happen is I'm going to be really interested in what you have to say. And so when you answer the question, I'm probably going to chase that answer down a rabbit hole because I'm just going to satisfy my curiosity. And I think that the audience is going to go along with that. They want to know the same things that I want to know. When you answer some question, I had on somebody interesting the other day. He was a music therapy person. So, and the idea that when your brain is involved in music, it's the only thing that activates all parts of your brain at the same time. That speech doesn't do it, math, there's all these, they'll activate one side or the other side, but music activates the whole brain. And so he was talking about using this for Alzheimer's. He's using this example of this woman who that he had trained to actually remember her children's names. And this was a really breakthrough, and did it through music, singing the names, and somehow, anyway, it was a very interesting podcast, completely different something. But I was chasing all kinds of questions down the rabbit hole because I was so fascinated by the topic.
Yeah, I believe that guy or that gal, by the way. Like, I have instruments here, and I mean, I just started playing, right? But for that very reason, to reach a flow state and just forget about everything. When you're playing these little things, you just forget about everything that's around you. I also have a top guest for your podcast, Benny Rubin. He's a CEO, but he's also a musician. And yeah, that guy would be the top fit for your podcast because he also used music for therapy when his father passed away. His artist name is Muted Circus, and he's a good friend of mine. I have these 10 questions as well that I present, as you know, right? You've received them with like my AI stuff.
And did I answer them?
I don't think you did, but
no.
I do them exactly for the same reasons that you mentioned. It's just, like I talk to CEOs and founders, which are quite analytical people. They want to prepare themselves, like they're very picky and even perfectionist, right? And they think that preparing will always yield better results. And yeah, a bit of preparation does, but I think most of them, they over prepare. And my goal with these questions is just to ease their analytical mind, right? And make them comfortable so that when they come on the podcast, they're chilled and they sort of think they know what to expect. And by the way, these questions are always sort of related to what I asked. But yeah, like I've been tinkering with like AI stuff in my process as of late. Do you have like AI in your own stack for yourself or your clients?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I have daily conversations with AI. So if I get into a situation, I use prompting, pretty sophisticated prompts. So the one thing that we do like to use AI for is on the post. We've built this back end stack where we'll take a short video. We cut up the videos by hand, but then we take the video and extract the actual text out of that and put that into our own tech stack, and it will take that and it will build for all eight social media platforms. It builds a different text or captions for each one, and it will build the also the hashtags for each one. And some of them use hashtags, some don't. And so then we can take that one video and automatically generate all this stuff, and then we have the personalized captions on each individual platform. Saves us a bunch of time. Yeah, that's just
Right.
one instance.
And yeah, like you were talking about guesting also, like previously, I've been guest on a bunch of pods, and I don't know if my personality is different or if it is the fact that I've had 3,000 CEOs and founders on my own podcast, but I like to very much being different, right? Like I'm a bit intense. Sometimes I listen to myself and I'm like, did I really say this? So obviously I'll always be my honest self, like that's my personality. But yeah, as a guest, I just know that there's so many guests out there that just repeat the same stuff, right? Like once you've cycled to 3,000 CEOs and founders, you know that. And once you go on a podcast, you need to be a bit more explosive, right? The intonation as well is quite important, but bring something new and bring real examples, right? Like bring real stories. And ultimately, I think that's what's the most shortable and the most publishable as an authority figure. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's always interesting stories. I had one where I work with all these different sorts of providers. I have so much experience in medical. I've done a lot of medical stuff, but we had this one acupuncturist that she was talking about her story with that she was doing acupuncture on someone on one part of the body, and he says, wait a minute, and she says, what's going on? What's wrong? He says, you're poking me down there, but my shoulder is feeling totally different. It's totally relaxed. Is this some kind of witchcraft? And it's not witchcraft. There's science here. It was just kind of amusing to hear these kind of real stories that happen, real life stories that happen with people that are different than what you'd normally hear. You wouldn't think talking to an acupuncturist, just the amusing part of the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's always interesting. What do you think is like, who are the best podcasters nowadays, and yeah, what characteristics do they have? Like, for example, I studied Joe Rogan and Lex Friedman quite a lot, but also My First Million. When it came to podcasts, Sean and Sam. Who are you studying nowadays? And yeah, what superhuman skills do these podcast interviewers nurture and have?
I also like My First Million. That's really a good one because those guys are so relatable. They're relaxed, and you can tell they're having fun, and their topics are interesting. I like Cody Sanchez. Although that's not really a podcast per se, but I just like the way she delivers her topics. It's so relaxed. She talks about a variety of different things, and that's really good. Joe Rogan, I see him. My wife discovered YouTube on the TV, so now we are all the time. She watches these baby podcasts. I don't know if you've seen those where they have the podcaster was like Joe Rogan or somebody else on where they're like a baby and they're saying it's like a baby saying this thing. It's so hilarious to see the serious topic being spouted by a baby. Anyway, it's AI, but it's just very amusing. Just look up baby podcast on.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I checked like the AI version of Joe Rogan. I think it was like a podcast of him and whoever he didn't have on yet. Was it Trump or something like that? But yeah, that one was interesting. It really sounded like Joe Rogan, all his intonation, and yeah, once you listen to a bunch of Joe Rogans, he's sort of predictable, right? Like how he talks, always about like these conspiracy theories and sort of agreeable most of the time, right? But yeah, it's fascinating. I'll check out the baby stuff you mentioned there. Zane, where can people find out more about you?
They can go to TrustCast Method. That's TRUST cast CAST method.com. We tried to get trustcasting.com, but it was already taken, by those people who buy URLs and never use them. So it goes to a dead end. So we TrustCast method which is what we settled for, and that's still a good URL. Of course, you can always find me on LinkedIn under Zane Myers, and yep.
So that was Zane and Charles for